Okay, welcome back, gang. Listen, it's your boy Z. Just debated to the moon and back, talking different conversations. We have our guy Ronnie T here. We got his little baby boy Jax.
Yes.
And so today I just wanted to talk to you about relationships. I decided to do an interracial relationship. You were deciding to do an interracial relationship. And so the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because obviously, me going Hispanic, you going white. I want to know challenges. I want to know ways, you do conflict resolution. I want to know ways of, again, when we talk about, last episode was really about those myths of about community. What does it mean to bring in a different race into your community? And like, how does that show in your relationship? What love language? I got it, bro. We're going to go crazy. But like, I want you to start off with obviously, how is your relationship going right now? And then how do you feel like your culture and, like obviously socioeconomic backgrounds affecting your relationship?
Yeah. Well, the relationship is going well for starters. I think things are going pretty solidly. We are happy. Things are going well. We're about to, have a new puppy in the family, so we're going to be parents in a sense pretty soon. But things are going well. As far as the, adopting to different backgrounds, coming to, different cultures, being different races, etc. I think for me, it's gone pretty successfully in our relationship. And I've had experience dating other races, so maybe that gave me, I don't want to say a bit of a leg up, but having that experience probably helps in some situations. I'm also someone who's been very accustomed to different races, different backgrounds, etc. Since high school, really, I went to a very diverse high school. I went to a predominantly white college, so I've had experiences being around different cultures, being around different races, and becoming comfortable with that. So I think that probably helps a ton, for someone like me, just having those experiences. But I understand not everyone is in that situation. Prior to that, I had only been exposed to the Black community literally up until high school. I want to say I went to school. Our school was 99% African American. That's really all I knew up until that point. And so it was a bit of a culture shock once I found myself around these other races. But I've learned to adapt, and like most people would, and things are well.
Okay.
That was probably the general of an answer.
No, it's okay, bro. I'm telling you, I got you. I'm gonna deep dive. I'm gonna pick your brain. And we're gonna actually start out the gate pretty hot. So when it comes to your love language, right? Because obviously, I don't know if we talk about this enough. About that actual like EQ and like understanding who you are and how you like to be communicated with. Talk about your love language a little bit. Like, who is Ronnie? Like, how does he like to be communicated with in a romantic sense? What does that love language mean to you?
I feel like I'm still kind of discovering that, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I could point to. I think it'd be interesting to get her perspective and see how it differs from like my thoughts. I definitely still feel like I'm in more of a discovery phase. So I do like a good level of communication, clear communication, whether that be our thoughts and emotions, what's going on, what we're thinking. I like to be very open and communicative in regards to those things. I'm not someone that likes to just bottle feelings up. I used to be. I've changed a little bit though, but I'm someone who likes to communicate those things. And that's kind of an expectation of mine, being in a relationship. When it comes to, I guess, words of affirmation would be a pretty big thing for me. I love to hear, words of affirmation. That's probably might be one of my largest love languages. It's probably where I rank the highest. Something that makes me feel good. I like to, get that positive reinforcement from my partner. But I also want my partner to call me out when I'm, maybe not performing the way that I should be, not being the best boyfriend, not being the most efficient when it comes to my work and the things I want to accomplish in life. I want someone to call me out on those things as well. So along with the affirmation, I need a partner who's going to keep me on my toes as well.
Okay. So like, just to kind of like, even out with you, I'll give you a little bit of me as well. And so for myself, I learned that I enjoy quality time a little bit more. And what that means is, we don't have to go out and like, do these crazy adventurous things. But it's, allowing me to like be in a space with you, like regardless of what that space means, as long as it's, me and my partner, we're making sense of, what's going on in the room. And we're just kind of like, really reflecting on what we are in the moment. Obviously, with the pandemic and things changing, that quality time has definitely meant a lot as far as like getting through it when it comes to like the health of our relationship. When you spoke about words of affirmation, and when I want to challenge that a little bit. So like when you are talking about words of affirmation, are you talking about just like you're doing good as a boyfriend, or like, like, because again, like, me knowing, your lady a little bit, she does give off the encouragement that I feel like, or at least that I'm interpreting, that you're like saying, oh, I want that. Like, she tells you you're a great boyfriend. She tells you, you're too good. She gives you these things to where it's like, you're not necessarily on a pedestal, but she thinks very highly of you, and she doesn't really ever have a bad thing to say about you.
See, and okay, so diving into that, I like words of affirmation in regards, like realistic words of affirmation. I don't want to be held on a pedestal.
Okay.
I just want to know that I'm doing well, and I want to know that there's something that I can improve on. Like I want those sorts of things communicated to me. But going into the route of like the pedestal and like, oh, you're the most amazing person ever. Those are not things I want to hear, because in my head, I'm like, that's not realistic. Like I'm probably not the greatest person in the world. I'm probably not the best boyfriend I could be. But if you can be more intentional about things that you're pointing out, like, hey, you're really making me happy, and this is why. These are some of the things that I really appreciate that you do. That's meaningful to me. Those are the things that I like to hear. And like I said, on the other side, if there's things that I'm not doing well, I want to hear those things too. The communication is just huge for me. And I whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether, constructive, I want to hear those things, and I want it to be intentional. Don't tell me, oh, you're a terrible boyfriend. Well, why am I a terrible boyfriend?
Are you shit, bro? Like you
right? Yeah, like
borderline, like trash, bro.
Yeah,
like Buki Karsh, like you trash.
Buki Karsh, wow.
No, but okay. So I want to turn the table. Then, how are you when it comes to like words of affirmation? When it comes to her, like, are you intentional with how you deliver a message, or like, because again, you did say you're still in the discovery stage. So like,
yeah,
the love language that you're wanting is the affirmation, and like kind of keeping it real, and making sure like there's an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Is there the same like that you're projecting or putting off towards her? Like, are you giving her that same thing that you're saying you want?
Yeah,
to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I try to. And I'm sure there's definitely, improvement that can be made on my end. But for her, it's something that she values, but like you mentioned, like the quality time, that's much more of her love language. If I were to interpret it, like from my understanding, that seems to be a lot more of what's important to her. She likes the words of affirmation. She's okay to accepting gifts, but I don't think I feel like that's an area that I probably push upon her. I'm always gifting her stuff. She doesn't really care about that. That's something that I've become to learn over time. Like, okay, that's really not important to her. Whereas in past relationships, that was, a little bit more appreciated. I'm not going to say she's not appreciating it, but it was more important, to those people to be receiving gifts and giving gifts as well. Whereas with my current girlfriend, it's just not really a big thing for her. Like, it's nice, she appreciates it, but it's not what, really attracts her to me, which I can grow to appreciate. And that's just something that I had to learn over time. Our relationships aren't the same. So I'm just, I think we're both in a discovery phase. We've been together for a year and a half. It's been a year and a half, not a year, but I don't really think you can put a time frame or a time limit on that process of getting to know each other. I think it's going to be continued development, for as long as we're together. So
it still happens with me, man. I'm still kind of getting to know her. Spicy is what we call her. So I'm still getting to know Spicy. And so like when it comes to like when you talk about like that's like still discovery stage, I think it's a good thing to stay there. I also think there's like obviously the whole like mastery, like you still need 10,000 hours of a thing, whether that's 10,000 hours of words of affirmation, like learning how to be strategic, or learning how to like properly say what you want and properly communicate that. for her, if it's the quality time, you know, understanding what 10,000 hours of quality time looks like and how, you know, just waking up, sitting at the table together, if that, you know, is that good enough, like to register as quality time? Like, what is it for her that like actually matters? And the reason why I bring it up is because, you know, some premarital therapy that me and Spicy did was, you know, we took the love language quiz. So like it kind of like showed us the percentiles of where we were when it came down to like, how do we like being loved at the end of the day? Because again, I don't think growing up, I don't necessarily know if I knew how to love correctly. And I don't know if that's just a Black thing or if that's, you know, being a man, you know, like not getting too sensitive and being like a little hard body a little bit. But I can guarantee you that I didn't know how to love correctly. And I mean, I was very seasonal with my relationships coming up. So actually like finding like, you know, these, I took that. I also took the personalities quiz. That's something I would recommend you to take, just because like it's 16 personalities. I'll send you a link. I'll actually probably drop it in the description down low too.
Yeah, definitely.
It pretty much what it does is you take kind of like a basic quiz. It's some to do with like relationships, some just talking about like who you are as a person. And then it gives you strengths and weaknesses, and then it also gives you your 16 personality traits. And so with those traits, the way they're impactful is because it's the follow-up questions that my premarital therapist gave us. It's how are these strengths and weaknesses showing up in your relationship? And so that's what made it more relationship-wise. For me, you know, I'm very strong-headed. I would say, and it was crazy because strong-headed and stubborn were both on the list. One as a weakness, one as a strength, which is crazy because it's like it's the same thing, but it listed as both. And for me, it was, you know, thinking about how did that show up in my relationship, you know, and I'll give you 3 examples, just quick offhand. Being stubborn, you know, trying to do it my way first, rather than like listening to like, you know, my partner when she knew she was right, but she knew who I was, you know, like, so she let me get it wrong. And then she didn't say, oh, I told you so. Or she's like, you want to listen to me now? Like, or you want to do this now? Like, you know, so that was me being stubborn and like kind of like not getting out of the way. You know, taking like a little like a tidbit from Luck. He goes, get out the way, don't get your head knocked off when we play poker. Like it's like meaning like fold so you can like, you know, have a better outcome later in games. Like you're not losing too much, you're not wagering too much. And I would definitely say that's one thing I'm trying to learn is still like just getting out of the way and not getting my head knocked off. I know it sounds a little blunt. I know it sounds a little bit like brute, but like when it comes to relationships, sometimes like, you know, you need to get out of the way. Like you need to, all right, wait, yeah, your idea is way better than mine. Like I'm not even gonna like try to like spearhead this because, you know, you have the better idea. Because again, like I'm a me first type person. Like I'm gonna try it, and then all right, okay, yeah, it didn't work. So I'm still learning how to do that. The second one was you know, with my like strong headedness, it's you know, learning how to empathize. Because again, my entire life it was a lot of sympathy. It was, oh yeah, I get that. Or I try to like yeah, I feel so bad for you, but I really didn't. Like I didn't understand what it meant, you know, for someone to hurt and how to actually you know, react to that. Because again, when we talk about the upbringing, I didn't know necessarily how to express myself and share feelings or accept someone else's feelings and be like, whoa, like that actually touched me to where, you know.
When do you think you made the switch?
Wanting more out of life. Like
at what stage in your life do you feel like you started to change and empathize a little bit more?
I would actually say in the last 5 years. So like I would say it was the start of college. And just wanting more out of life. Because again, like, you know, I was going to go to college because, you know, my anticipation was, you did well in all the other schools, so you're going to college. Like, yeah. I didn't want to go to college, like, but it was, I'm my mom's baby. I have to, you know. I don't know what I would have been doing if I didn't go to college, so I'm glad I did. But it was I didn't understand why she wanted me to go. I didn't understand until now, I get it. You know, like looking back now, I'm 25 and I got my benchmarks marked off. But when it comes back to the empathy, I'm learning how to accept the feelings, register them as value, but then understanding if I should, you know, like really kind of absorb them and like display them. Like, all right, cool. Like you're hurting. I feel this. Maybe I'm going to cry too. Or you having a rough day. You don't really want to be talked to. So I can walk away. It's my time to walk away. Like, you know, like really understanding and registering those feelings as value, and knowing how to read them. And then number 3, with the last one, it was just understanding time and place. And I can say with who I was with, again, being that stubborn person, not really knowing how to empathize, time and place was real inappropriate sometimes. And so like, it'd be like times where I'm just like, no, it's fine. Get over it. And it's like, yo, that's not the time to say this. And like, you know, like, and so that's what I'm talking about when I encourage you to take the quiz, and I encourage you to take it with her. And then, you know, again, see where that shows up in your relationship and kind of see like if you can notice it, and then kind of ask her, where does she see your personality trait show up in your relationship? You know?
Yeah. That's a good idea. I don't think we've taken any personality type.
Yeah. Because
really compared.
Yeah, because for me, again, I would say like, you know, you don't need someone to be just like you or someone who's totally opposite from you. You just need to understand how your personalities like go together. Like you go together, like, you know, man, woman, or, you know, however you want to do your sexual orientation. But how do you guys go together mentally? How do you guys go together, like, you know, psychologically? How do you, like, where are you going outside of just physical? And so I definitely think you guys should do that. So I want to ask you another question. When it comes down to conflict, right? Because, you know, as men, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm learning now at like my marriage stage, you know, and I've heard you say it before. Our roles are to really like cover, like, just like whatever happens, we got it. Like whether it's we're in the wrong, yep, it's our fault, or we're in the right, no, it's cool, baby. I still understand where you're coming from. Like we're supposed to cover those feelings and like nurture those feelings and understand like we have to value our women like we value anything else, maybe even more, you know? So as of right now, again, like you said, you're still in the discovery. Where are you at as far as like covering yours?
I'm extremely stubborn. So like similar to you, when it comes to conflict resolution, if I feel strong-willed in a certain way that I handle the situation, or just having an opinion that might differ from my lady, oftentimes it takes me some time to just sit back and like think. Like I just need to sit back, calm down, you know, or really just think about the situation, and then come back and approach it later. And I've grown to learn that as far as conflict resolution is concerned, I'm a lot better at doing so, not in the moment, like not when I'm at the height of whatever feelings and emotions we may be feeling, but when I take a second to process things. Because when I'm just quick to react, oftentimes I'm not as considerate of like, you know, my lady's feelings. Or that sounds like terrible. It's not. I'm not that terrible. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to because I'm so stubborn and because I'm so like strong-willed in my opinions, but I'm not really like considering hers as much. I'm not really thinking about her point of view, and that's an area of improvement for me. But that's why I've also learned that, okay, when we have those disagreements, when these things come up, I need time to think and process, and I need that time to really think about her side, because if I'm just reacting, it's usually my stance, you know, or my input, like, that I'm speaking.
Okay. And then I'll go probably a couple more questions, but another, again, suggestion for you to watch, Jada Pinkett Smith. She has a Red Table Talk on Facebook. And me being a man and knowing how all men are, we have a little bit of narcissistic tendencies in us, you know. And specifically on this episode of the Red Table Talk, they were talking about gaslighting. You know kind of what gaslighting is?
Yeah. Got somewhat of an understanding.
Okay. And so because all men do it, it's hard not to do it. Like it's hard not to. Like it's kind of a habit, a first reaction, a first instinct to gaslight, and it's not necessarily the most appropriate. So how do you feel like in your relationship right now you're handling gaslighting situations? Like, and really, I would also pair gaslight situations with taking responsibility for your relationship, because gaslight is one thing.
I feel like that might be a little difficult for me to answer. I might need to see the video first, because if you ask me if I'm doing a lot of gaslighting, I disagree with you. And say that I wouldn't. So maybe like that's going to take a bit more thought,
Okay. All right. Yeah. Then we can totally revisit this, and we can revisit this off camera. Yeah. But like just like to kind of give you like a quick like blurb of it. It's like certain type of gaslights are like I'll give you like there was like one specifically like it was a cheating example, but like a guy was like checking his phone, and rather than just telling his girl the truth. I mean, and it didn't even have to be cheating, like just telling her the truth. Because, like how men are like sacred with their phone. Like, people aren't supposed to touch their phone as their phone. Like, why are you looking at it? Why are you touching it? That's my stuff. Like your privacy and whatnot. But gaslighting is like,
I flipped it on her and was like, oh, you invading my privacy type of
deal. Yeah. And you just, you project a false reality and you kind of distort theirs.
Yeah.
So it's like, you kind of like make them go into like a state of craziness. Like, or like, like they're like, oh, you made me crazy. And it's like, you kind of did. Like as a dude, like we make a lot of women crazy solely through gaslighting. But again, we can revisit the conversation another time. I'll ask you the second half of the question. When we talk about responsibility for your relationship, right? What type of responsibility are you taking? And then what type of responsibilities are you expecting her to take? And this kind of stems off of our conversation with Big T.
Big
man.
Oh, okay. Fridge. Yeah. Responsible. I'm not sure if I understand the question though. So what responsibilities am I taking in a relationship?
Yeah. So like, are you leading every time? Are you taking that step back to let her lead some situations or conversations? Are you, again, when we talk about get off the counter? I'm sorry, my dog's on the counter. She's a freak. But I'm talking about when we talked about how to treat someone. Are you teaching her how to treat you? And like,
okay.
And again, in the Fridge situation, the expectations he put on her, like, are you teaching her these expectations before you just naturally give them to her?
Yeah.
Responsibility.
I think, what's crazy? So that conversation that we had, which occurred a month ago, maybe a month and a half, not even, that was like, although I was given that advice of like, you got to teach her how to, how you'd want to be treated in this situation. Like, you've got to make that known. You've got to be very intentional about what you want, because if she doesn't know, she obviously can't, showcase what you want. You can't have that expectation of her. That was like my takeaway. I was given that advice, but then I really had to think about it. And I was like, geez, where am I doing this in my relationship, or where can I improve in that aspect? And so I'd say over the past month, that's an area that I've improved in a ton. To address your original question, when it comes to leading, traditionally, I think I kind of like that was the role that I seen for myself. It was lead, initiate this, initiate that, start this, start that. And I've had to convert more over the past couple of months. I mean, really, since the start of this year, I've been a bit more intentional about seeking out the input of my girlfriend. What are your thoughts on this? Well, what would you do with this? Like, how would you handle this? And just trying to really seek out her thought. And I think that's something that she, probably appreciates. And I think I've began to notice that that's something that she appreciates. And I think also, just going along with the intentional piece of, this is what I like, this is what I'd appreciate. I think it's okay to be open and be transparent about those things, but I think it's important to seek out your partner's opinions and your partner's input as well. And you don't even have to lead with your own. You can ask like, hey, what would you want in this situation? Or, what would you need of me, or what would you like of me in this situation or this scenario? I think you can lead with something like that, and that might even be more appreciated. And if they need more additional context or some examples, that's when you can input, what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, again, it's a work in progress. I'm in a discovery phase. I'll probably keep going to that. And again, we're a year and a half. We're still figuring each other out. And we're still growing. And that's definitely an area that we're growing in. But I think that's something like literally over the past month that has improved in our relationship.
Okay. And so obviously we can talk about the pandemic a little bit. How did the quarantine and I don't know if you were, quarantining with her or quarantining separate. How did that affect your relationship? Pros or cons?
Yeah. So pros, we definitely got closer. I know you alluded to the whole, like quality time piece with you and your lady, your wife, Spicy, excuse me. You alluded to that. And I think that was a similar thing for me. We were almost forced to have that quality. We weren't forced, but that was the result of the pandemic. We were with each other all the time. I wasn't going out hanging with friends. So it was really all my girlfriend that I had. For the bulk of quarantine and the pandemic, I was living in Florida where I didn't have any family. I barely had friends there. And, all I really had was my girlfriend. So we spent a ton of time together. We got to know each other's tendencies when we were practically living together. And we currently do live together now. So I think that actually was super helpful in preparing us for this stage of actually, being in a home together. So that's the pros. As far as cons are concerned, it's almost like, how some people, feel the need to see their significant other in moderation, especially, when you're earlier on in a relationship like we were, not even a year in at that point. And, we were seeing each other almost every day. If not every day, it was like 5 times a week. And that can be a lot. And it felt like a lot, just being transparent at some points in times. It's just like, geez, like we're together every single day. And not that I don't want to be with you or that I don't, love you and love seeing you all the time. But I am someone who values my time alone as well. And so that was something that I had to, that I was sort of combating. It was traditionally me being just like super independent and like just having so much time to myself prior to the relationship and just being comfortable with being alone, to then converting to being with my girlfriend, 5 days a week. That was a bit of a change for me. So that was I don't want to say it was a con, but it was definitely a challenge throughout that time period. But again, considering the fact that we're living together now, I think it was probably for the better. It prepared me for this. It allowed me to be able to operate and still find those, pockets of time to still have that time to myself, to game with my boys, to just, I don't want to say separate, but dissociate myself from my girlfriends at certain points, to be able to go and visit friends, but then also be able to maintain seeing her every single day now and being with her every single day and living together.
Kind of like a work-life balance.
Yeah, she's the life, exactly. Girlfriend life balance. That's what it is.
Yeah. But again, like you figuring out that ratio is definitely important. Again, I'm an advocate for anyone who wants to cohabitate, live with their lady, because again, that's what I did. And we've lived with each other on a different amount of different circumstances, whether it was her saving me from being homeless, or us telling parents, hey, we're moving in together, or us buying a house. So the different types of cohabitation, you find some things that you necessarily don't like, but it's not that you don't like it. It's a pet peeve, and pet peeves are things that like you can get over, but like you choose not to. And so I think that's what kind of comes with the situation of understanding like who you're living with and what you can deal with, what you can't deal with. This is something that, again, I would encourage everyone to do, at least before they make life-changing decisions, whether it's a kid, whether it's marriage, whether it's moving across the world, because you guys moved across the country, so you already did that. But like, if you guys want to like relocate to Costa Rica, or something crazy like that, I think the cohabitation stage is definitely impactful to understanding a relationship and really practicing a healthy and strong relationship. So just a couple takeaways from today. Those love languages, you got to figure it out. It's okay to be in the discovery stage. Again, because you're going to be in the discovery stage for the rest of your life. You'll be in a comfortable discovery stage. Like you won't be, blind leading the blind. But you're still going to be discovering every day. Because again, I haven't seen Spicy pregnant. That's going to be a huge discovery. I might find out I hate her. There's some things like I still haven't really gotten. There's some still challenges we have not faced. I think, that'll continue happening, especially in a relationship. People looking at us differently. If we go to Mexico, like, what is this black guy living in? Or like, if, she's in an all black community and like people are looking at her like, well, who's she here with? There's times like that I can definitely point at, like, that I know that will come up in your relationship, especially white and black. It's a little bit more controversial. And so just advice for you, my guy. I'm always looking out. I love you to the core of me. Protect your own. And when I mean your own, I mean her. Understand who you lay with at night. I consider Abby to be my utmost importance, like above my mom, above my pets, above my sporting practice. She's the number one, and rightfully so, because again, this is someone I'm sharing a life with, and this is before the pets. This is like, I value her more because, again, yes, she has to meet all these people, but that's someone I have to hold up and uplift. Like we always talk about that women empowerment. It starts at home. You got to really empower her to do some great things, because we know she's capable of it. She just needs the confidence. And so, do you have any closing words? You want to sign out? You want to tell your girl you love her? You want to blow her? Anything like that? Like,
no, I'm not gonna blow her a kiss. I'll give her a kiss after this. But no, this was a dope conversation, and I think these are conversations and like questions that people should be having more often. Like I can't remember the last time that I've really engaged in deep conversation like this. So this is good. This is healthy. Like, all of us as men, women who are watching, like, we need to start having these conversations with our friends. We need to start challenging each other on some of these ideas and seeking feedback from one another. It's only going to help us grow. That personalities quiz you mentioned, it sounds like that's a pretty good experience there. So I'll definitely be checking that out. And for anyone on the call or anyone tuning in, it'll be in the description, I'm assuming. So
yeah,
go check that out. But yeah, this is cool.
All right. So it's your boy Z. Don't be afraid to be insecure or vulnerable when it comes to your lady. This is Ronnie T. He is a J Fish killer. That's what we can call her, J Fish. J Fish killer. He be slaying her, guys. He be slaying her. Also taking care of her, though, because, again, she is and should be number one. We love the ladies. We always are going to empower them. It's your boy Z. It's Ronnie T. And we are out.